Do you know what time it is? No, it's not time for Thanksgiving. No, it's not Christmas time. It's MLB free agent season. And you know what that means? Incoming $100 million deals. In fact, incoming $500 million deals. But in today's video, what we're going to talk about is what does planning actually look like for an athlete that comes into a $100 million deal. And we're going to take it actually a step further, not just what the planning looks like. I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain of what does it look like when these contracts are actually negotiated. I know we all think that they take months, but I'm here to tell you they only take minutes. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacob Turner. I'm a former Major League Baseball player and the co-founder of Moment Private Wealth, where I have the opportunity to serve professional athletes and high-growth entrepreneurs. And in our business, we have the opportunity to walk alongside people that have been top MLB draft picks, the guys that are signing these huge MLB free agent deals. And I'm going to show you exactly what it would look like to help plan for one, but also show you what it looks like when players are actually going through this process. So the way I want us to break down this video is really into three sections. First is what are the challenges that these players are facing? Secondarily, what are the tactical things these look like? And I'm going to show you the real numbers behind this. I think you're going to be surprised how many of these athletes could actually become billionaires. And how we're going to finish this is we're going to talk about how do these contracts actually get negotiated. Remember, I'm going to give you that little peek behind the curtain, so make sure you stay till the end. All right, now I know some of you are out there cueing that little violin and playing it really slow and saying, oh, challenges faced in signing a $100 million contract. But I'm here to tell you there's real challenges that these athletes face. In fact, if you don't believe me, look at Antoine Walker, look at Curt Schilling, two athletes that earn north of $100 million that both filed for bankruptcy, both for different reasons. Antoine Walker had the posse, he had the gambling issues, he had everything under the sun that he bought. Curt Schilling, seemingly like he was doing well, and then he made one bad business move and boom, all gone. So, they do face real challenges. And the reality is, it's all public information. Think about it like this. If you owned a small business and you sold it for 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 million, chances are nobody would know. If you're an MLB athlete and you sign a $100 million deal, everybody's going to know. It's going to be on the front page of ESPN. That is one of the biggest challenges athletes face because everybody now has their calls out. So when we think about what tactical things the athletes should be doing, number one is the financial team. Now, before you say, well, just go out and hire the best people, let me give you a perspective. You have $100 million. Let's just call it $50 million after taxes and agent fees. You walk into your local broker and you say, I'm looking for some investment advice and I have $50 million. What should I do? That is a terrible idea. Everybody, no matter what their level of expertise is going to have plenty of ideas of what you should do with this money. But the reality is most of them are not going to be in your best interest. So the starting point here is this page that I'm showing you. It is the triangulation of advice. And what it means is the advice that you get should be separate from the products and services that you're getting implemented and should be separate from where the money's holding it. All three of those pieces should be separate. And the reality is we want to make sure that we have checks and balances in this process. If I was coming into this amount of money and I was starting to interview financial teams, this would be the basic starting point. I want to make sure there's checks and balances with my team because the reality is you can go to Google right now. In fact, I would encourage you, go to Google. Look up financial advisors taking advantage of professional athletes. You are going to see a laundry list of people on there that have gotten taken advantage of. And the simple reason is they did not follow the triangulation of advice. So moving a step further, what does it look like? Who should actually be on the financial team? And for us at Moment, what that looks like is you need to have a really qualified team of professionals around you. Now, you didn't hear me say you need one qualified individual. No. I said we need a qualified team of people. This means a CFP, Certified Financial Planner, like we are at Moment. This means a CPA that's actually going to be filing your tax return. This means an estate planning attorney that's going to be able to navigate what are all the issues and complexities that we're going to be thinking about. This means a property and casualty insurance agent to make sure your needs are covered. This means a life insurance agent particularly. This means a private banking relationship. All those people need to be working in unison together. All those people need to have a 10 out of 10 ability to be able to help you. Because the reality is, if you're an athlete signing a $100 million deal, you're in a group of about 150 people that have ever done it. I would want to make sure that the advice that I'm giving is also in the top 0.0001%. And the reality is, the advice that you get should be a group around you. It should be a team of people all talking to each other, all coordinating, all going over strategies, all battle testing their ideas to make sure that you get the best end result. All right, I got good news and I got bad news. What do you want first?
I love good news.
All right, I'm gonna give you the good news first. You signed a $100 million deal.
Damn!
And I got the bad news next. The bad news is a lot of that money is gonna go to taxes.
No, God, please, no!
And this is exactly what I would show an athlete when they're coming into this amount of money. And the way we're gonna break this down is, let's assume our athlete, for our circumstances, signed a $100 million deal over 4 years. He was getting $25 million per year. And what you're looking at here is a tax projection of what that looks like. You can see his MLB salary is $25 million. His taxable income, what he would actually get taxed on, is just a little south of that. But the reality is there's not that many moves that they can pull. It's about $24.9 million. So his tax bill is about $9.4 million. I'm gonna say that again. His tax bill is about $9.4 million. So his after-tax take-home is about $15.5 million. That's the good news. He got $15.5 million. Let's not even worry about what we signed for. All right, not quite. But the reality is there are things that we can do to help lower our lifetime tax bill. I put a couple things on here. We want to make sure that we have quarterly estimates in place. I do not want surprise tax bills when we're talking about a $9 million tax bill. I do not want to be talking about state residency when we're talking about a $9 million tax bill. I want to make sure we have all these things in place. Heck, I want to make sure the contract is structured in a way where we can maximize the signing bonus to make sure it gets taxed in that state of residency. I want to make sure that we're maxing our retirement accounts like a backdoor Roth IRA, a solo 401k, the league 401k. All these ways, these are just simple building blocks to make sure that we are reducing that tax bill. I want to make sure that we're investing the money in a way that is going to continue to compound on top of each other, and we're not going to be paying taxes along the way. And I want to make sure that if we're giving the money away, we're using tools like a donor advised fund, where we are able to maximize our charitable deduction and maximize what we're getting from a tax perspective back to us. I have never met anybody that wants to pay more money to the IRS and less money to their favorite charity. And the reality is when it comes to tax planning, whether you're a $100 million free agent or you're a $10 million business owner or you are just starting out, a lot of these principles hold true. You need to know your numbers. You need to understand what strategies you need to implement. You need to understand the pros and cons of those strategies, and you need to know how to actually get them to the finish line. There is so much misconception out there about taxes, but at the end of the day, whether you're making $100 million or you're making $10,000, a lot of it's the same. Remember how at the beginning of this video, I was talking about the challenges, the struggles, and you were playing that little violin and you were saying, oh, woe is this guy. He signed a $100 million free agent deal. We feel so bad for him. Well, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the target that's on athletes' backs for a second. All public information. You can go to Google, just like I did when I was researching for this video, to look up how many guys signed $100 million deals. And heck, ChatGPT gives me a nice list that I can put in there that gives me the exact amount that they made. There's a huge target on their back. So how do we help an athlete protect this? And what you're looking at here is exactly what we would show them. We can show them how we're gonna break down what game are we playing, how do we predict the odds of that game, and how do we make the odds more predictable in our favor, just like the casino. And the way that we want to do this is we want to first understand what are the big things that we want to make sure we avoid. I would call them the boat sinkers, right? We signed a $100 million deal. Surely we can't mess this up. Paging Kurt Schilling, paging Antoine Walker. Oh, wait, remember, we can mess that up. And that's why we want to make sure that our target on our back is covered. I want to make sure we have things like the bright property and casualty insurance place. I know, it sounds boring. It is so important. I want to make sure that we have potentially the life insurance in place. Now, why would you need life insurance if you have $50 million? Well, I'm going to show you in a second that there's this other tax that we might have to pay in the future. All these things provide this huge target on our back, and it's our job as a financial planner to make sure that we are reducing that target. We have to do everything in our power to make sure things are structured the right way, to make sure that we have the right coverages in place. So when our athletes are out there, there's absolutely no chance. They are bulletproof with their financial strategies. Okay, let's assume for a second that our athlete is 30 years old. Does he need an estate plan? Wait. Estate plan, what does that even mean? Okay, an estate plan is this. All we're doing is providing direction and protection for your assets. Think about it like the parking garage. We're building the parking garage, we're putting your assets in there. If they ever leave, they're gonna go to the parking attendant, and that parking attendant's gonna tell them where you wanted them to go. So yes, even a 30-year-old, especially one signing a $100 million free agent deal, needs to have an estate plan in place. What that means is we wanna make sure that we have 3 core elements in place. We wanna have a financial power of attorney, we wanna have a healthcare directive, and we want to have some level of will or trust in place. Typically for us, it's going to be a trust. The reason why these are important is if you cannot make your own decisions, I want to make sure these things are in place. The reality is this is the foundational level of planning that we're talking about. When we start talking about the second level of this, check out these numbers. On $50 million, okay, we're just assuming that you get $50 million after all the agent fees, after all the taxes. We're just going to cut it in half. We're going to make it really simple. No more taxes, right? I got bad news for us again. More taxes. In fact, there's something called the death tax. If you have over $14 million right now in total estate, life insurance included, the government will tax you at 40% on that money. So for our athlete with no planning, if he were to die tomorrow, he owes another $14 million in taxes. Another $14 million. He already paid roughly $37 million in taxes to start. And you're telling me that he owes another $14 million? I am. Now, good news. We can and we should be planning around this. When it comes to estate planning, not only should we be putting the foundation in place, we should also be putting in second and third level strategies. Things like irrevocable trust, things like structuring of assets to make sure that we can get them outside of our estate as quickly as possible, because one thing that we will never have our athletes do is pay estate taxes. But Jacob, you haven't talked at all about investing this money. How are we going to invest $100 million? Well, we're going to invest it the same way that you would invest $10,000. Okay, maybe it's going to be a little bit different, but it's actually going to be relatively the same. The framework, the structure, the idea, it's all going to be the same. We think about it in these three buckets. Bucket one is our war chest. Bucket two is our growth strategy, and bucket three is our aspirational bucket. All three of these buckets are going to be filled up. Thousands of different things that we can invest in, but the reality is they all fall into one of these three buckets. And we want to make sure that we have a really clear structure in place around how much we want to have in each one of these buckets. And when I say how much we want to have, I do not mean a percentage. I mean a dollar amount. When athletes are getting to this level of net worth, heck, anybody, I want you to think about the dollar amount you have in each one of these buckets. How much do you have in that war chest, that protection bucket? What do you have in the growth strategy, that core investment portfolio? And what do you want to take a little bit more risk with in that third bucket, the aspirational strategy? Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have a framework, an idea, something that we can come back to. When stuff starts hitting the fan and the market starts going down and you start seeing some of these investments go up and down and up and down and up and down, I need to have a framework that we're coming back to. And this is what we do with our athletes. We build that framework first and foremost. All right, we've talked a lot about all these different strategies. How does this all come together? You remember at the beginning of this video when I told you that an athlete could become a billionaire with this contract? Here's what I mean. We take that money, we get roughly $57 million after taxes and agent fees. Let's say we save 80% of it. That's pretty reasonable. I mean, that means we spent $12 million of it. Houses, cars, bunch of fun stuff. And we invest $45 million at age 30. And we earn 8% a year. Nothing crazy. We have $99 million at age 40. We have $213 million at age 50. And at age 80, we'd have $2.15 billion. Heck, at age 70, we'd have just about $1 billion. And this is the reality for an athlete signing a $100 million deal. If you do these things right, which are in your control, you can turn that $100 million contract, even after all those taxes we pay, even after the agent fees you're going to pay, into $1 billion. And that, my friends, is the power of getting money at such a young age. That, my friends, is the power that an athlete has if they do these things right. And this is why I'm so passionate about this. All these things as an athlete are inside of our control. We just have to make sure we're executing on it. I've been talking about $100 million a lot. So let me level set what this actually looks like. If you took the Empire State Building, pretty tall building, about 1,400 feet in the air, and you stacked it on top of each other, not 2 times, not 3 times, not 4 times, 25 times in the air, and you stacked your $1 bills all the way up, they'd be just about level. So $100 million stacked as $1 bills is equivalent to 25 Empire State Buildings stacked on top of each other. That's a lot of money. All right, now back to what we were talking about. I promised you I'd give you a little peek behind the curtain of how it actually works when an athlete signs one of these deals. And I know you think that your favorite team, the GM, has been on the phone with their agent for months and months and months, going back and forth and back and forth. They haven't been. In fact, it probably works something like this. The agent called the GM. GM said, we're interested. They had Thanksgiving. They had Christmas. They had the New Year. They started to pick it back up. Some guys started to sign. The GM thought, oh, wow, we might make sure. We might want want to start making a move. They make an initial offer. It's super low. Agent says absolutely no chance. Nothing really happens again. And time goes on. And time goes on. And then crunch time comes. Spring training's around the corner and we're like, we gotta make this happen. We want this guy. GM makes a call to the agent, and typically within 24 hours, that deal's either coming together or not. So the next time that you see a $100 million deal come to fruition, just remember, it might have taken months for it to come to fruition, but it really only took probably 24 hours. As always, my goal is to help you get smarter with your money. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at what it would look like to plan for a $100 million athlete. And one big takeaway I want you to understand is whether you are a $100 million athlete, or whether you're a $10 million business owner, or whether you're just starting out in your financial journey, a lot of the things I talked about apply. The same things I talk about in terms of building your financial team, tax planning, making sure that you have the proper estate planning in place, making sure that you have the buckets when it comes to your investment portfolio. They all still apply. As always, my goal is to help you get smarter with your money. Until next time, my friends.